And a very happy Thursday to you at 12:06 in the West. It's the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wang's in Culver City.
John, yesterday Gavin Newsom held an event, and the only point of the event was to hold a press conference where he could take more questions about Prop 50 and get more free publicity for it. What Gavin Newsom did not expect was to get asked about the Katie Porter video.
I have an opportunity. I haven't heard you talk since the Katie Porter videos came out.
Oh.
Any advice to her?
Any advice for Katie Porter?
What do you think he says about her privately?
Something way different than he's about to say publicly.
Oh, I got no advice. I need advice. We all do. A little humility when you're in this business. We all have those moments. So I know.
I feel for her. I also don't answer questions.
That's true.
I know people, it's political, and people are, jumping to cast whatever.
Why is he so uncomfortable?
Because he doesn't want to be asked about Katie Porter.
Criticism or aspersion. She acknowledged that. And so, look, a little more humility and grace, because I think all of us have been on the other side of you and your camera at those moments where we weren't our best self. So no advice in that respect, but I think grace.
I can almost guarantee you that he hates that woman with the hot hate of 1,000 suns.
Paul!
And I bet you he tears her up privately constantly.
No!
But she may be the candidate that ends up as California's next governor, and he wants to maintain a good relationship with her. So he can't let the private voice speak publicly.
You know, we're getting polls every 10 minutes about Prop 50 right now. Can we get a new poll as to the standing of the governor's race a few weeks after the Katie Porter video?
Please!
Wouldn't that be fun?
Is she still the front runner?
Hello, everybody!
Well, I don't think the field is gelled yet. I think we still may see more candidates jump in. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Well, the big news in Washington, D.C., of course, is the government shutdown. When is the shutdown going to end? When are things going to go back to normal? And what is the fallout from the shutdown? Part of the fallout that's been discussed ad nauseum on television and other forums is that food assistance will be cut starting on November the 1st in any number of states to people who are, in the old days, you would say, on government cheese. Now, we don't have government cheese anymore. What we do is we give these people cards, and they use the cards at the grocery store, and they can buy whatever it is that they want.
We call it EBT in California and CalFresh. And it used to be that you got a direct card that you could use at certain grocery stores and other restaurants, but you also got a cash benefit until a study came out showing that people were literally taking those cards to ATMs and taking them to strip clubs, liquor stores, and pot stores.
It was like EDD all over again. According to Politico, millions of low-income Americans will lose access to food aid on November the 1st, when half of states plan to cut off benefits due to the government shutdown. 25 states told Politico that they are issuing notices informing participants of the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, otherwise known as SNAP, the nation's largest anti-hunger initiative, that they won't receive checks next month. Those states include, right here in California, Arkansas, Hawaii, Indiana, Mississippi, and New Jersey. Others didn't respond to requests for comment in time for publication. USDA's Food and Nutrition Service recently told every state that they need to hold off on distributing benefits until further notice. This according to multiple state agencies who spoke to Politico. So the people who are on food stamps now have to brace for not receiving their food stamps starting on November the 1st, about a week away from today. And they're fighting back in a way that's, well, it's new. It's new because of technology. In years past, what they probably would have done is written letters to the editor. Maybe they would show up at a protest somewhere. But now what they're doing is they're posting videos of themselves in the grocery stores shopping for the food that they're purchasing with their government benefits. And they're posting these videos all over the internet. The point of these videos, and I don't know if this is some kind of organized effort or this is them doing it on their own, but the point is they want you to see what they're buying with the food stamps so you know that they're buying legitimate things and they have their kids with them as they're doing the grocery shopping. They want you to know what mouths the food is going into. And I have seen any number of these videos on my social media feeds. And I've got to tell you, I've heard of the boomerang effect before. But if they think by posting these videos, it's going to make me more sympathetic to their cause, they're wrong. First of all, I didn't even know they had flatbeds at the grocery store. When I go to Ralph's, when I go to Gelson's, when I go to Trader Joe's, when I go to any number of grocery stores in my neighborhood, you get the carts like the homeless have. They're metal. They're usually wobbly. I guess you could put a kid in the front of it if you're going to put a baby in there to sit down. And you put your food in there. But in any number of these videos, they have the flatbeds. I've seen the flatbeds before at Costco, but aren't those usually for people who are buying things for restaurants? Or if you're buying tires or something like that, but it's not meant for food for a family.
I don't know. Sometimes you really got to stock up on that toilet paper.
But COVID's over.
Doesn't matter.
I've seen so many flatbeds in these videos, I couldn't believe my own eyes. Second, every time these people go to the grocery store, it's like their parents are gone for the weekend. You see adults in the grocery store and you have certain things in mind. Okay, we need something from each of the food groups. Not in these videos. The only fruit you see in these videos is on the Trix box. That's it. I see lots of cookies. I see lots of processed food. I see lots of candy. I see lots of soda. I see lots of pre-made items. I don't see much in terms of vegetables. Not a lot of fresh fish in these flatbeds. Not a lot of fresh grains. You know, the basics. Because there are certain cheap, inexpensive foods that you can make that are also healthy. I know in the old days they used to say if you eat healthy, that's a luxury of the rich. Because healthy food costs more than cheap food. I'm not so sure that's true. If you get fresh meat and fresh fruit and fresh vegetables and rice and beans and flour and, you know, the basics, you can eat relatively healthy. In fact, Randy, you do a lot of cooking at home. I do a little bit, not a lot. Whenever I cook at home, which is usually pretty clean and pretty healthy, I'm always surprised at how much cheaper it is than the alternative.
When I do my weekly spend at Trader Joe's, it's like $150 for the week for my wife and I.
And you post pictures of your meals. Your meals look very tasty. Your meals look almost restaurant quality, something that you would go out and pay for if you were at a nice restaurant. It's not like you're eating the same thing every single night. You're eating interesting, tasty food.
There are plenty of ways to be creative and to be healthy, and it doesn't cost that much money.
And then in these videos, they put the kids in there because they think that the kids will generate sympathy. And the kids are just as fat as the parents. And the kids are fighting with the mom for more sugar and more ice cream and more cookies and more processed foods. And usually what happens in the videos I've seen is that the mom puts up a fight only because she's on camera, and then she gives in. And then they just pile more onto the flatbed until the flatbed is totally full of processed food. And then they go home, and then they show the video of them taking all the food that they just purchased and going through the receipt. And they tell you how much everything costs. And they tell you, oh my God, we just spent $700 at the Costco. And this is only food for 1 week. That's it. Only food for 1 week. And we have to go back and we have to spend $700 again next week because we plan on eating all 4,000,000 Oreos. And they expect you to say, oh my God, we got to call our congressman. We can't allow this to happen. These poor people are suffering. They might have to go to a normal size cart, not the flatbed. God help us. And the other thing that cuts through on these videos is the entitlement. They act like they're doing you a favor. They act like by going to the grocery store and not getting every single meal at a fast food joint, they're really putting in an effort. They're really rolling up their sleeves, to borrow a phrase from Rob Bonta, and they're putting in the work. And they could be so much more cavalier about it if they wanted to. They could have Colonel Sanders make every single meal. They could just go to McDonald's at 10 in the morning and then stick around for lunch and breakfast and lunch. But because they're trying, they're at the Costco instead. And they think that they're pulling at your heartstrings with the entitlement that's also ever present in these videos. And I've got to tell you, I don't know if the problem is our educational system where we're not teaching them how to be healthy. Clearly, there's no exercise going on either. If we don't teach them how to prepare meals, I know I never took a home ec class the entire time I was in K through 12, and that would have been much more useful than half the crap they taught me. Maybe we should incorporate one of those courses into the regular curriculum. I don't know. I don't know if it's a science education that's just not there, where they don't understand that if all you eat are processed items that are high in sugar and high in calories, that eventually you're one Big Mac away from your heart exploding. Maybe we should teach them more in terms of science and biology and anatomy and physiology and health. Maybe that's where we're failing. But clearly something isn't going right. And none of them look malnourished, as I said. Usually when you see these advertisements for these third world countries where they're asking for money for food, remember the ones that Sally Struthers used to host? Those people were skin and bones. The people in the videos that I saw, there are children in these videos that weigh more than I do. And I'm 6'4". It's time for them to go on a diet. It's time for us to reform how we spend money on food assistance. In America, you can choose what you eat. You can choose what you put in your body. But if we're paying the bills, we should have more of a say in terms of what kind of food they can buy. So if they resolve the conflict in Washington, if the government reopens, this is one of the first programs we should take a magnifying glass to. Because part of the reason that our healthcare system costs so much is because people aren't treating their bodies like a temple. They're treating it like a spring break rental car. And we're paying for it. Who's the bigger sucker? The person who's eating like that, or the person who's paying for it and then paying for the health care too? We get dinged twice. We have to pay for the food and then for the hospital visit. And as technology gets better, we're going to probably have to buy all of them baboon hearts too. I don't know. I don't think these videos are helping their cause. I think these videos are highlighting a problem. These videos are highlighting a problem with these programs, and we need to have our heads examined if we don't reform them. Because we are not helping them out. We're certainly not helping their kids out. And we're not helping society out, including our healthcare system, if we're allowing people to be that unhealthy and we pick up the tab. So I want to know, have you seen these videos online? Have you seen these videos of people on Snap who are posting what they're purchasing from the grocery stores? Are you seeing the same thing I do? Because it also could be, maybe my feed is curated, and maybe these are the videos that they think that I want to watch, and that's what they're putting there. But of all of the videos I have seen of people on food assistance, what I just described to you was in every single one of them. Is that what you're seeing too? 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222, 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, if you want to go back and listen to some podcast editions of this program, we've had some real doozies in the crime blotter this week. You can go back and find out just exactly what the criminals are up to here in California.
All you got to do is search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's the Apple Podcasts app, iHeart, Spotify. Search for The John Phillips Show. Hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes. You could do a Google on the YouTube. Get the KABC app. Get the KSFO app. There are so many different ways to listen live to our radio stations and download all the podcasts. Like download the episode where a gas station got robbed in Oakland.
It's happened yet again.
And then download the episode where a gas station got robbed in Oakland.
It's happened yet again.
And then download an episode where a gas station got robbed in Oakland.
It's happened yet again.
All right. The SNAP program, the benefits are being turned off on November the 1st if the government shutdown isn't resolved. Recipients from that program are posting videos showing you just exactly what they use the money for at the grocery stores. Have you seen those videos, and what have you seen on them? 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. SNAP benefits go on ice starting on November the 1st in California due to the government shutdown in Washington, D.C. SNAP recipients are posting videos on social media showing you what they're buying with their SNAP benefits. Based on everything I've seen, it's not good. What are you seeing on your social media feeds? At 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. Randy, who's up first?
Let's go to Stephen and Elsa Bronte. Stephen, hello. Stephen. Elsa Bronte. Bye-bye. Let's go to Ann in Concord. Ann, hello.
Hi, guys. Good morning. I wanted to let you know that back between 2011 and 13, I fell on some financial hard times, got a divorce, and was blessed to be able to qualify my two young children for the WIC system, which expires at the age of 5 for the children. And I found that to be a really good program where all that is dispersed are healthy fruits, vegetables, and milk, and maybe eggs. So I think that program is really well managed. The SNAP program, on the other hand, I found had absolutely no limitations. And it appears that there just doesn't seem to be a scope with this SNAP project, that they don't have parameters. And the best interest of the families is not being met. With WIC, I had to go and take classes on how to cut up and prepare healthy food. But I haven't seen that in SNAP program, and I was wondering what you think about that.
I don't understand why they aren't all like that, because in that circumstance, the family's being fed, the taxpayers are getting the best bang for their buck, people are eating healthy food, so we're not creating new problems that are going to be resolved in the healthcare system that's going to cause those costs to explode. I just don't understand, if you have one program that's well run and one program that's very poorly run, why the one that's poorly run gets most of the money and the one that's well run doesn't.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And I think, like, I would assume a lot of people feel the same as I do. I'm horrified when I see signs on Kentucky Fried Chicken, Taco Bell, 7-Eleven, where it says EBT welcome. And I've actually gone into 7-Eleven and seen a family purchase nothing but Doritos and Slurpees and Gatorade with their SNAP benefits.
Well, I bet you it's a lot like low-income housing, where people who own low-income housing units love it because the government is going to be good for the rent. If you're relying on someone who is marginally employed to pay the rent, then maybe they pay, maybe they don't. If you're renting to the state of California, you know the state of California is going to be good for it. I would imagine that when they have the food fight over funding these programs in Washington, D.C., all the fast food joints have lobbyists there who are making the case that KFC or McDonald's or Burger King is a perfect vendor for something like this, where you can get a healthy meal if you want one, and it's hot and prepared for you, and it's fast, so that way you don't have to spend a bunch of time preparing a meal, and you can go look for a job or whatever the case may be. 7-Eleven, all the convenience stores probably have their representatives there. And instead of the members of Congress looking out for what's best for the taxpayers, what's best for the recipients, what's best for Congress getting the biggest bang for their buck, they're trying to take care of various interest groups who are all trying to get a cut of the action.
I think you're absolutely correct, sir. It's not about the mass populace. It's about a different category of people who get more votes for these people.
Oh, yeah. And sometimes when you drive by these fast food joints, the advertisements for EBT, it's bigger than the advertisements for the Monopoly program.
Indeed, indeed. So I guess then the bottom line is, how do we, what kind of actions can we take to get this reversed so that there are more strict limitations put on the programs so that I feel and you feel like our tax dollars are being properly spent?
Well, I would assume that these videos that are going up all over the place are going to highlight what the money's actually being spent on, the same way that COVID allowed parents to know what was being taught in their kids' classroom. And I think for a lot of people, it's been a real eye-opener. It wasn't intended to be an eye-opener, but that's what it was. Thank you for the call. Let's go to Paul in Trabuco Canyon. Paul, hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I was just noticing that right after the $20 minimum wage was installed for fast food workers, that's when we started seeing all those signs, the GT signs, and cars being Taco Bell and stuff.
Oh, yeah, you see them all over the place. In fact, when you drive from the radio station to LAX, you go down La Cienega Boulevard, there is a stretch of road right there, right before you get to the 405, of a bunch of different fast food restaurants, and all of them, I'm not kidding, the biggest sign in the window is for EBT. They want everyone to know that you can use EBT there. Now, I would imagine that not every fast food restaurant does that. I don't think I've ever seen one of those signs at a In-N-Out Burger before, for example. In-N-Out Burger, I don't think participates in the EBT program. Chick-fil-A, I don't know if it's a location-by-location sort of thing, but I can't recall ever seeing one of those signs at a Chick-fil-A. But all those fast food restaurants right along La Cienega Boulevard headed to the airport, they all have those signs in the window.
Well, I just wonder if, the taxpayers are paying for that $20 minimum wage for those workers. That's all.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. Let's go to Mike in Culver City. Mike, hello.
John, how do you do? Pardon me. Let me just start with a small story. About 70-some years ago, when I was being raised, there were 3 boys, and my father was a bus driver. That's the only job he could get at the time. We lived in a cold water flat. And I remember mornings where we were going through the Rice Krispies, pulling out the bugs, because that's all we had. And we would keep the meat out on the porch in the winter. And my mother had a special broom she'd use to keep the rats away from the meat. Now here I am, 60, 70 years later, moving into retirement. And I remember every day how my parents never went on the dole. You know, the most they had was S&H stamps everybody collected. But I remember they worked their way up, saved their money until they could get this broken down house, which my father spent the next 10 or 15 years while we lived there trying to repair and expand it. And the reason I bring that story up, John, is because now I just realized, now that the government's closed down, how many people are on the dole. And how many people I see on the street that are overweight. And I see a breakdown in work ethics, in social integrity, and the stemming of this. I mean, where does it all come from? How did it get here? I don't know. But the idea that people can walk into a store and buy so much and have so much for doing nothing, it appalls my own integrity, how I was raised. I don't know how to acclimate to this. I don't know how to get on one side and say, okay, now notwithstanding the people who have, fallen on hard times, I get that. But I know there's a lot of people who are not on hard times that are gaming this system. And of course we're paying for it. But I don't know how we solve it other than we just talk about it. I don't know, how do you get at the root of this and make this thing go away or somehow mitigate it?
Well, you're right. We are an obese society right now, and it's not just the adults, it's the kids too. Not every 10-year-old boy that you see with a D cup is transitioning. Sometimes it's just because of the food that the parents are putting in front of that kid. And you mentioned the sheer number of people who are recipients of this program. Listen to this. I have the numbers in front of me. In 2024, almost 42 million people participated in the SNAP program. That means that over 12% of the country is on food assistance. 12%. The program peaked in 2013 at about 48 million people per month, and that accounted for 15% of the total population. 15% in 2013. So it's actually down from where it was, but it's still very high.
Got it.
And we spend a total of $99 billion on it, by the way.
Unbelievable.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. I appreciate it. Let's go to Larry in Tahunga. Larry, hello.
Hello. I've been in line 3 different times, and I've seen the screen says EBT, and the guy buy an item for $1, and the cashier give him $100 cash.
So they make a purchase for something that doesn't cost a lot of money, and then they get cash back from the EBT program?
I've seen it 3 different times.
And did the cashier even bat an eye?
No, he pushed some buttons, and the cashier just gave him $100, and he bought an item that cost $1.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. Let's go to Eric in San Pedro. Eric, hello.
Hey, I was listening to your comments about the EBT, and I seem to recall about 10 years ago, maybe it's a little longer, when EBT first started showing up at fast food places like 7-Eleven, et cetera. And I think it was Yum Foods that owns that's Pepsi company, spinoff that owns Pizza Hut and a bunch of other stuff. They were the big lobbyists behind that. And the argument was people, you can't give them just groceries because homeless people and people that don't have good housing have no place to cook. That was the argument. So
well, if they have no place to cook, then how come the homeless start so many fires?
That's true. And by the way, your last caller was talking about the return. You know, you buy something, you get cash back. That's the reason that 7-Eleven has bananas. And this is true. You ask the guys at 7-Eleven, people will come in and buy a banana. It's cost $1 or whatever. And then they can get, I don't know what it was, like $20 change. So you get the banana, you take your $19, and off you go.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. Let's go to Rose in Granada Hills. Rose, hello.
Hey, John, I like to say this whole program, even the WIC program, they're all a scam. I went as a female construction worker to go buy some Gatorade or some drinks and some chips, and the lady, I didn't have no gear on, and she goes, "Oh, you're going to put this on your EBT card?" I'm like, "What the F are you talking about?" And then so I went outside and I told the guys, I go, "Hey, what is EBT?" And they all told me, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, they're profiling me in there. I'm a hardworking person and they're profiling me." and my experience is also the WIC program, because I worked in East LA, and I'm on the job site 5:30 in the morning. Here comes these ladies 9 o'clock in the morning, driving up with their Lexus, gold jewelry, fancy handbags, getting WIC. It's all a scam. We don't need to support those people. If we support them, they need to go to schooling to learn how to eat correctly, properly. Give them give them the opportunity and some training to go get a job, not live off the government. I'm so tired. Don't forget, vote no on 50.
All right. Thank you for the call. I appreciate it. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. Because of the government shutdown, the SNAP program will stop paying beneficiaries on November the 1st in any number of states, including the state of California. As a result, beneficiaries of the SNAP program have been posting videos on social media showing you what they're buying with their SNAP benefits. I've seen them all over my feed, and it's not good. Are you seeing those same videos? What are you seeing? 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. Let's go back to the phones and welcome Ray in Palos Verdes. Ray, hello.
Hi. I remember in college being the broke college kid, and a lot of weekends didn't have enough money for food for the weekend. And I was in line at the grocery store, and this woman in front of me was buying all these very fancy foods with food stamps, and I was buying cup of noodles. And it just, they'll be a memory forever. Just, the people aren't working for it, and they can have all the luxury stuff, and I was there broke working and trying to make my future better. It was absolutely disgusting.
And I'll tell you, with that mentality, my guess is you're still paying for that woman's food stamps, and you're probably paying for kids' food stamps too.
Yes, it's a shame. I mean, they should be, raising their kids to go, have productive lives. I mean, the tradespeople, those guys make a really good amount of money. They should, whether they're painters, plumbers, electricians, that's what they should be doing. Those guys make a fortune, and they should be training their kids to do that.
All right, thanks for the call.
Careers for people.
Oh, for sure. I've written many checks to many people in those professions in my lifetime. Let's go to Morris in Commerce. Morris, hello.
Yes, good afternoon. I don't know. The people are just waking up right now. This has been going on for years. I was 7-Eleven North Hollywood, and this individual has a SNAP card. He came up to me, look, he says, "I want to buy food from 7-Eleven. He has a SNAP card. Give me 50% cash." And I said, "I beg your pardon?" He wants to buy the groceries for me. I said, "Absolutely not." I said, "This is my tax dollar going to waste." But not only that, I'm on Medicare. I go to see this doctor, and then spend more than 15 seconds, submits a bill to Medicare for just short of $900, and then Medicare contacts me about eight months later trying to find out all the tests run. I says, "What test?" I wasn't there more than 15 seconds, and they're telling me the The doctor has to go to the hospital right away. He did nothing, but yet submitted a bill for payment. This is your tax dollar. You're just waking up. This is how people vote. Proposition 50 is going to pass. I'm almost sure for what. All right, I don't know why it's going to pass. The people are stupid. They're going to vote. They don't know what they're voting for even. All right, this goes on and on and on. You work hard, they want your tax dollar. They'll be paid by a certain date, or there's all kind of penalties if you're late. And that's what this is. All right, and I don't think anything is ever going to change. The money just goes to waste. And it's unfortunately, these people get fatter. They're not eating healthy food. They're eating all the junk food from the SNAP and the WIC program, and they look like pigs. Many of the mothers, the women, don't want to work. It's just plain lazy. And you and I got to work to the death, to our end, just to make it so these people can live off the hog out there. They're driving nice cars registered under various people's names. It's not under their name. They're not allowed to own a nice car. Well, of course, they're collecting social service payments. So it's under somebody else's name. Everything's under somebody else's name, not under their own name, so they can go ahead and commit legalized fraud. So how are you going to change that? I don't know. So, and I don't know, Rick Caruso getting involved as a Democrat, apparently, calling all the people out there to vote yes on 50. All right, and the guy is a former Republican. So I don't know what's going on with this system. I don't know why he's even getting involved like this for a multimillionaire or billionaire, really, why he's getting involved. This goes on and on and on, and I don't think you can change it or I can change it. All we do is get worked up so eventually we have a heart attack out of this. And that's what the system is. I don't know what else to tell you.
All right. Thank you for the call. Thank you for your optimism, too.
He ran out the clock on us.
The last point he made was, and we're all going to die of a heart attack.
It's probably not wrong.
Well, that's why we're on blood pressure meds. Or is that for a stroke? Well, probably both. All right, we got 2 more hours coming up on the John Phillips Show. The Fix California hours next. Don't you go anywhere.